Hello everyone. So this was my week coming back from my deload week. It was pretty nice that the deload week was last week because it was a little bit of a relatively busy week. I also had travel in between the week, so it was nice that the deload coincided with that week. And yeah, I mean I came back from the deload week feeling pretty strong. It's always really nice, just removing some of the fatigue that has built up from, weeks of training. And I mean, I would say I was somewhat looking forward to a deload because I mean, I had put in 6 weeks of work. So it was nice to just, come into the gym, lift light. And what I've adopted as philosophy, at least for this training cycle for deloading, is to just reduce my volume by 50%. I do think I need to, think a little bit more carefully about how to deload, but I mean, 50% seems like that was, a good thing for me to do. So instead of doing, say like 3 sets, I would do 1.5 sets. But yeah, into today's training, I started off with, an over warm up single. So warming up to a weight that is actually higher than the working weight. And I did that over warm up to 80%. My working weight for this week for was 70% of my training max. So I warmed up to 80%. I just did a single, and that was 385 pounds for one rep. And I will say, it probably moved a little bit slower than I would have preferred. But I mean, this might just be, new gear, new environment. It's kind of interesting how, somewhat changing somewhat small variables in your, in your just in your training can really affect things. Like for example, this week I'm using different shoes than what I've been using for the last 2 months or so. I'm using a different belt. I'm using different knee sleeves. So that that might have a little bit of an effect. But I mean, overall, I still was happy with the way with the way it moved. Maybe a little bit slower than I'd prefer, but happy with the way it moved. 385 for a single, good. Then I hit 340 pounds, which was the juggernaut accumulation of the fives wave. And this week called for 70% of the training max, which ended up being 340 pounds for 5 by 5. Then a sixth set, which is going to be an AMRAP set above five, so a 5+ set. The 340 pounds was feeling pretty good. I decided to do everything belted this time. On the accumulation and intensification of, well, this was my AMRAP set. Let me just talk about it before going into some more details. But yeah, the AMRAP set, what I decided to do was, well, what I was going for is to do at least as many reps as what I was able to accomplish on the realization of the eights wave. So I was able to accomplish 13 reps with 365 pounds, which was my realization weight on the squats, which I was really happy with, and I wanted to at least hit 13. So in my mind I was thinking something like between 13 and 15. Um, and yeah, I mean, I was able to hit 13. I will say of course, there's some differences between the 365 I hit for 13 and this 340 for 13. With the 365, I pretty much just warmed up to a top set, and boom, that top set was when I then hit the 13. So, very little tiredness. I hadn't done any, significant weights that I really count before that set. But with this one, I'd already hit 340 pounds for 5 by 5 before then, hitting this 340 pounds for 13 reps. So extremely happy with this. Things are picking up from where they left off. Happy with that. Um, but yeah, I mean, with regards to the belt, yeah, throughout my tens and my eights wave, I pretty much did pretty much everything beltless. And the reason why is because, I mean, the belt gives, of course, I mean, a strength advantage. You're actually a little bit stronger with the belt, and I think for me, maybe about 10% stronger with the belt. But another thing is also the psychological advantage as well, which is probably even more significant for me. Just like feeling like you're throwing this thing, you just like it's almost like you're just throwing a superhero cape, and you just feel so much stronger. So Um, I try to not use a belt when I can, when the weights are, light enough. So eights and tens, I pretty much didn't use a belt. When I started using a belt was on the eights wave. When I was doing my AMRAP set for intensification and realization. Pretty much everything else was beltless. But I decided to start using a belt on the fives wave. The weights are getting, pretty heavy now. Uh, I was working with 340 pounds, 70% of my training max. So starting to use a belt, and it's also, coming closer to the competition. So probably want to, simulate competition standards as much as possible. On the pause deadlifts, did 315 and 325, then 335, all for five reps, and I'm gonna move up to 335 for 3 by 5 next week. 315 felt, super light, so that's why I did the pyramid 335. Initially, I only do 315 for 3 by 5, but I mean, I felt good enough to, just go up, and I think that was a good idea. And next week I can go to 335. Yeah, these pause deadlifts they're amazing. I think they're you know they're one of they're I mean I think they're probably one of the best accessories I've chosen for my deadlifts. For one, they help you cement a better starting position. I think that's one thing I can struggle with, because I realized my lockout was was harder, and not because of, I mean, maybe glute strength plays a little bit of a role, but I think even more so, a compromised starting position makes lockout a little bit more difficult. So if you just, locking your starting position a little bit more, you can pays huge dividends later on in the lift. So I mean that pause deadlifts, cements that. It also cements your upper back positioning, and I mean depending on where you start to struggle, it also strengthens the middle of the range of motion. I think it's just a a great thing to do. So I'm really happy I started incorporating those. Overall, yeah, this was a pretty good session, and but after I did some RDLs, so mini deadlifts, did 245 pounds, 3 by 10, felt pretty good. It did feel kind of heavy, I will say that. I was able to complete everything, but it did feel kind of heavy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stick with this weight for a while till I've totally mastered that weight, and before then, moving up to anything else, maybe I'll then should try to increase these ones by about 10 pounds each time. So I'll probably go 355, but for now, stick with this ones. Felt heavy, but I mean, I mean, it wasn't doable because, I mean, of course I did it, so of course it was doable. But yeah, the RDLs felt good. Then after that, I did some Bulgarian split squats. I really love those. Always hit my glutes hard. And after those, I did some hamstring curls, single leg this time, because the machine I have in this gym is a little bit different. And completed the workout. Pretty great day. I'll probably rate the day something like a 4.5 over 5, and looking forward to the next day and the next week and eventually competition. Peace.